story unfolding before their eyes.
Of a UFO battle in orbit around Earth.
I believe that's 504, please.
More and more stories are coming out about UFOs in Australia, and today I have an absolutely insane case of a photographer that captured the unbelievable on camera. This involves UAPs and Australia's Virgin Airlines. Also, the same source has found other sources that have taken UFO photography, and he's also had 2 other encounters himself. Also in other footage I have from one of my previous sources that took the Sydney airport footage over the skies of Botany has sent more footage in from the area and time of December of these orbs coming back again and changing into fluorescent colours and disappearing into the distance. So we're going to cover all this in the video today. Sit back and enjoy, and let's get right into this. So firstly, we're going to go through the photos that Dan Tumi snapped of these UFOs. So Dan took a series of photos of the Virgin Blue passenger jet, which was photographed over Bondi in 2009. He used a Canon 40D camera. When he was taking the photos, he never saw the objects until after downloading the images to his laptops. Moments later, what he discovered was truly incredible. The irrefutable proof that in 2 of the photos you can see one of the UAPs partially obscure or inside of the cloud in different positions, and also the negative version of the 2 UAPs and Virgin passenger jet appear white as the solid objects, showing they display the same heat characteristics. In this second photo you can see 2 UAPs that are in range of an aircraft, and Virgin Airlines have made no comment to what these things were. The more photos Dan Tumi took of the skies, the more UAPs he started to find. These photos show cylindrical and disc-like objects in the skies over Sydney, Australia. This image is at max zoom. You can see the classic saucer-like shape of this object. And what he captures is truly unique. Yes, they're not planes, they're literal flying saucers. These photos were forensically analysed by Jeff Darmain, one of the most respected veteran photo desk editors at Fairfax. The photos were proven to be completely authentic. The witness Dan said he seen a flash cross his eyes when he was facing his camera up towards the skies when he was shooting photos of the storm, but he never actually had the thought of anything remotely about UAP or UFOs. Now, if you're wondering where in Australia these sightings were captured, they were over the top of Bondi Beach, which is Sydney's most popular beach. And I guarantee everyone on land wouldn't have had a clue that there were these saucers and tic-tac shaped UFOs above them. There definitely seems to be some sort of connection between our aerial craft and it triggering or attracting UAPs, because my other source that gave me the Sydney airport footage of the UAPs that hover over there weekly are always interacting and moving in a triangular formation and disappearing when an aircraft takes off from Sydney airport. It's extremely interesting stuff, and I definitely think there's either a connection here or that these UAP might be studying or interested in our aircraft, maybe surveying us.
I did just see it. I can't see it now. Can you see it? It showed up behind it, didn't it? Maybe I picked it up on the camera, but I couldn't see it.
I don't know about you, but I can see some type of rigid edges to this craft. I don't know if it's a triangle or a square, but again, it looks similar to Ryan Gray's description of the UAP he encountered. Now, Dan Toomey's story gets even better because it was reported on the Daily Mail as an official UAP sighting that was being covered by at least some form of mainstream media. As you can see here, they show one of his best photos that were taken that was showing two objects flying near the Virgin Blue passenger plane. As you can see here, they show one of his best photos that were taken that is showing the objects flying near a Virgin Blue passenger plane. He is quoted saying, "If you invert the photo to a negative, the plane appears white as the solid object, and so do the other objects." And then they mentioned that Mr. Tumi has also spotted unexplained objects in the past. We'll get into that later. But here's the real interesting thing after I read this Daily Mail story. He talks about the reason why he wanted to publicise his photos of these UAP. And he talks about after the disappearance of the Malaysian Airlines flight, which I've also covered in some of my Instagram clips. He felt it was time to share it. He's quoted saying there's a big question mark next to that plane and a lot of conspiracies surrounding what happened. He said maybe the right time for the world to know these things are real. It's interesting he mentions the MH370 flight in connection to UAP because some of the leaked drone footage of the last moments of MH370 show some sort of UAP activity within 100 metre distance, very similar to this case right here. Is there a connection? I really think there is, and I think that's why the secrecy surrounding MH370 is beyond classified. And they even attempted to cover it up by throwing fake debris in the sea and picking it up, saying that it was a part of MH370, which they've proven now it wasn't. So the connection Dan Toomey makes is very interesting, showing the circumstances and historic evidence of what's been going on. On top of that, Dan Toomey has been surveying the skies since his encounter, and he's picked up a lot of different footage which historically happens to people that have encounters. They start to see more and more of the phenomena. Here's some of the photos over Sydney that he took of UAPs. These sightings here are some of the best that he captured that look exactly like the Ryan Graves description of a UAP, with the circular shape around this square or circular shape within. These photos Dan Toomey takes are truly incredible, and they cannot be debunked as regular aircraft. There is nothing that looks like this. It is not an effect of a camera lens. These are verified UFOs. I've looked over the flight paths from these dates as well, and there's no aircraft flying over that section of the sky. These are truly anomalous UAPs, and they're all over Sydney if you watch my earlier videos. As I mentioned earlier, Dan Toomey has also been in contact with other UFO witnesses that have evidence of sightings, and he got one over Bondi Beach by whatever chance, and this UAP is truly dynamic in the way it looks and truly anomalous. I've never seen anything like it. It looks similar to the Mosul orb, but with these spikes coming off the edges of it. A similar type of UFO also featured on Ross Coulter's 7 News Spotlight a couple of years ago. And you guessed it, more UFOs sent in from Bondi at night time by a person called Tama. And again, this strange orb-like object that shows the characteristics of the 5 observables. The connection I make here is the similarities to the Sydney Airport UAPs that are flying around there. It's almost the exact same shape, just from a closer vantage point, captured in a little bit more detail. This phenomenon is over Sydney, people. It is all over Australia. I've had videos from Melbourne, South Australia, of these orbs. I've seen them come within 100 metres of an aircraft, a manned aircraft in South Australia in one of my earlier videos. These orbs are here. They're not just in New Jersey. What are they? Well, the authorities will never tell us what they are.
Jess, can you see? At the top, high up.
But let's start looking up, recording more, and if you see any more of these over Australia, please send them to me at aussieUFOnews@gmail.com. Share my videos around, get the word out that there are UFOs in Australia, and subscribe. Thank you very much, people. Follow me on Instagram too. See you next time.